Is cancelling your own spawning pool a good defense versus a zergling rush? What is the best team in StarCraft 2? And can your own body produce alcohol? All of these questions will be answered in today's episode of StarCraft Today.
StarCraft Today.
Your favorite StarCraft news show. With the GSL finals ending last week and TSL 9 taking a weekend off, it was a quiet week in the world of StarCraft 2. Luckily, we had the World Team League playoffs to provide us with a little bit of entertainment. The WTL playoffs feature a King of the Hill bracket and a match format that is so tricky to understand that there's an entire Wikipedia page dedicated to explaining it. So if you don't understand any of the scorelines, trust me, you're not alone. Starting on the Friday with Team Envy versus the Guangdong Freaks, and in match 1, Creator put on quite a show versus Armani as he dominated the Korean Zerg with some slick Protoss gameplay. After some fruitful harassment in the early game, Creator managed to finish the first map with a big Immortal-based attack. Armani seemed to be caught off guard and was forced to tap out of game number 1. The second game saw Armani fall to a relatively basic glaive adept attack, allowing Creator to take the first series 2-0. In the second match we saw a similar performance out of Creator, taking out Su with an Immortal push in game 1 and winning with a well-timed Stalker Colossus attack in game number 2. His next opponent was Trap, who's going to the army soon and thus hasn't been playing quite as much lately. Despite his lack of recent games, Trap managed to take game 1 with a well-executed Void Ray Stalker all-in. In game 2, however, we saw Creator strike back with a 2-base Immortal timing, putting himself into an unlosable position and winning the second game. Playing 1-1 in this best-of-2 format meant that both players got knocked out and the Guangdong Freaks were forced to use their revive. They used this revive on Armani, who went on to die in about 6 minutes against Bunny's Marauder Hell Battalion. This meant that Armani was knocked out and Team NV won their first playoffs clan war. In the second clan war of the day, Team NV versus Psystorm, we once again saw Creator start for NV. This time not versus Zerg, but a Terran in the form of Gumiho. In game 1 we saw the Protoss player win after a solid mid-game fight versus a storm-eating Terran army. In the second map, a failed 3-gate pressure resulted in such a poorly teched up Protoss that all that Gumiho had to do was walk across the map and collect his win. With a 1-1 score, both players got knocked out, which led to DRG versus MaxPax in the second match. And in that match we saw DRG's constant off-creep engagements, giving MaxPax the edge that he needed to take map 1 home. In game 2 we witnessed a never-ending queen walk, eventually getting cleaned up by MaxPax's carrier force, and as DRG was stuck on a mere 60 workers and no queens to speak of whatsoever, there wasn't much left to do for him but tap out and say GG. Bunny was up next for Team NV and decided it was time to show the young Danish toss what StarCraft 2 is all about. And according to Bunny, StarCraft 2 is all about rushes with bunkers, as he won game 1 rather easily with a dedicated 2-base push with bunkers. In the second game we saw Bunny with another dedicated push, punishing MaxPax's gold-based position and winning the second game. As a result, Psystorm sent out Special as their third player, who opened up with a Battlecruiser proxy. Yes, a Battlecruiser proxy and a proxy base right next to it. Despite these great surprise tactics as an opener, the experienced Bunny managed to break Special's mech defense and win game 1. The second game had a different start, but a similar outcome, as Bunny managed to break Special's mech setup at around 150 supply once again, winning 2-0 and forcing out Psystorm's revive on MaxPax. And in the first match after the revive in the game on Moondance, we saw a 3-Rex opener take out a decent chunk of the Danish player's real estate, as well as a bunch of workers. With a couple of decent fights and drops as a follow-up, Bunny managed to secure the win in the game and the win in the clan war versus Psystorm. This meant that Team NV versus Shopify Rebellion was up next, and rather than starting with Creator, we saw Team NV open up with DRG this time around, which seemed to be a rock-solid choice, as the Busan Zerg made short work of Scarlet in an action-packed Roach Lurker mirror in game number 1. The second game, DRG turned water into wine as he managed to win a decisive fight while harassing with burrowed roaches. Scarlet eventually died to the sustained follow-up pressure, giving DRG the 2-0 victory. That is not where it stopped for the talented South Korean Zerg player, as he managed to slaughter Beyond's 2-base all-in in game 1 in their match, and in game number 2 win with a Baneling Lurker-based composition in a semi-late game. The third player that went up the bat for Shopify Rebellion versus DRG would be Lambo. And in that first game between Lambo and DRG, not only do we have our game of the week, but we also have our clip of the week. As Lambo accidentally cancels his spawning pool after he spots that he is being 12 pooled. Just look at the despair in this man's face. Lambo then makes the impossible happen as he surrounds his opponent's lings with a pure drone defense and ends up only losing 4 drones despite having 0 lings of his own, due to the cancelled pool, to aid in the defense. An absolutely miraculous defense which allowed Lambo to stay in the game. And that was not the only miraculous hold this game, as later on Lambo sets up one of the greatest defensive flanks ever seen in a ZVZ to make a hold that should have been impossible. He then counterattacks and in some supply-defying logic manages to win a game that never should have been won. Now, I'm not one to usually enjoy ZVZ, most of the time I don't even really want to watch it, but this game honestly at a Lambo was fantastic. Some great decision making, beautiful micro, allowing Lambo to continue on, and continue on he did, as in game number 2, Lambo managed to seal the deal with a Roach Ling Bane attack, which DRG was poorly prepared for. The next match, Lambo vs Creator, started just as swimmingly for the German. After a somewhat successful Adept Glaive defense, the German player sent out a Roach Queen force, which Creator wasn't quite ready for, and thus got killed by. On the second map, the Zerg player struggled a bit more and despite a promising looking setup, got destroyed by Creator's carrier Void Ray pushout, forcing the German to tap out and forcing the Rebellion to play their revive on Bian, while Team NV sent out Bunny as their third player. Bian showed in that TVD with an uncommon 8 Rex reactor style that it is possible to not camp in TVT and actually have the matchup be somewhat entertaining, as his constant pressure with drops and run-bys eventually tore Bunny apart in game number 1. In the second game, Bian went for a wild run-by which pretty much ended the game right there and then, giving Bian the 2-0 win and forcing the revive out of Team NV. And that revive set up Bian vs Creator as the next match. In game number 1 we were treated to fireworks with Bian seemingly coming out ahead until he decided to fight into an overcharged battery position. With some good storm control and defensive micro, Creator turned the fight into his favor and with a swift counterattack took map number 1. Game 2 was a bit more one-sided as Creator took a big mid-game lead, and despite Bian's best attempts to try and equalize the situation, the Protoss army was always just a bit too strong, which allowed Creator to eventually pick up map 2, the series, and with the series, the entire clan war. Team NV vs Alpha X was next on the menu, and this time it was Bunny who opened up the score in decisive fashion by taking out Ragnarok 2 maps in a row. Game 1 saw a successful 3-base tank push after a 3-Rex in the early game, while in Game 2 Bunny used his before-seen Hellbat Marauder build to beat another Zerg. The Korean Terran's hot streak continued when he met Astrea, who was no match for the powerful drop play out of Bunny in game number 1. In the second game, Astrea messed up the timing of a fight near his third base and Bunny immediately capitalized and pounced, taking home the win. As a third player for Alpha X, Zaun performed a bit better than his teammates, hitting random disruptor shots and showcasing a stellar drop defense. Zaun managed to get ahead leading into the mid game, and after a couple more advantageous back and forth, the Protoss walked across the map and took the first map for Alpha X. On the second map, Bunny went for a beautiful proxy Marauder cheese, which completely caught Zaun off guard, and after 3 minutes and 58 seconds, the Korean Protoss typed GG and left the game. Alpha X's revive got used on Astrea, but despite one map win on map 1, DRG showed up a bit too strong in the second game and managed to knock out Astrea by going 1-1, meaning that NV won its 4th clan war in a row. And in the next clan war, Team NV would take on Kaisi Gaming. Solar vs DRG, Rainer vs Creator, and Time vs Bunny all ended up in a 1-1 score, meaning that both teams were forced to use their revive after only 3 best of 2s. Creator got picked for Team NV and Rainer got picked as the Kaisi representative. Everything was going well for the Italian Zerg player until he massively misjudged a fight and lost close to 40 Banelings for free. Creator immediately capitalized and snatched victory from the claws of defeat, winning map number 1. The second game saw Rainer struggle from the start versus Adepts and Oracles, losing more workers than a Zerg ever wants to. Some Void Ray Zealot pressure followed in the mid game and allowed Creator to snipe the 4th base. Rainer tried to come back with Hydra Lurker, but when the carriers hit, the Italian Zerg did not have sufficient anti-air and was forced to give up and leave the game. 2-0 in favor of Creator and another clan war win for Team NV. And just like in the WTL winter season of 2021, the finals once again was Dragon Phoenix Gaming versus Team NV. The first match between Rogue and Bunny saw the Terran get a free 14 kills with his Banshees and Hellions, but despite that great start, Bunny quickly fell behind in the mid game, and as both players started to transition into a late game, Rogue walked across the map with a bunch of ultras and simply won. The second game saw the already classic Hellbat Marauder push that Bunny played with great success in previous rounds, and once again it won him a very easy game, this time taking no more than 5 minutes and 23 seconds. Match 2 between DRG and Dark was a bit more one-sided, as we saw Dark take game 1 with a fast roach all-in, while game 2 got won with an extremely quick ling Bane bust, which DRG wasn't prepared for. Map 1 of the third match between Creator and Dark took place on Stargazers and actually went the way of the Zerg, despite it being one of the most Protoss favorite maps. I guess Nidus all-ins don't care too much about the size of the map. The second game on Data C, however, went the way of Creator, as he managed to deal a lot of eco damage early on with Adepts, survived the counter-attack, and then dealt a fatal blow with a Stalker Adept Zealot Immortal push of 2.5 base. Team NV used their revive on Creator, while DPG sent out Hero. Hero only needed one game to seal the deal in a tight Phoenix versus Phoenix mirror game. With better understanding of the situation and superior control, he managed to win the game and the clan war. And that means that Dragon Phoenix Gaming, for the second season in a row, is the best team in all of StarCraft 2. Congrats to Dragon Phoenix Gaming for that, but moving on to more StarCraft 2, as Nee pulled out of TSL 9 due to an exam in his computer science study, and a replacement had to be found. Hero Marine, Solar and Astrea played a 3-man round-robin best-of-5 group, in which Solar ended up in first place, after taking out Hero Marine with a 3-1 score and beating Astrea with a 3-2 score. That means that Solar will be replacing Nee in the offline portion of TSL 9 at the end of this month. As always, there were also 3 ESL Open Cups starting on the Sunday in Korea, and for a third week in a row, Beyond managed to win the ESL Open Cup versus a Protoss in the finals, this time with a dominating 3-0 score against Classic. Over in Europe, Lambo gave Clem some troubles in the finals, but the young French Liquid player managed to take home the series with a 3-2 score after a very close game number 5. And in America, just as last week, Beyond made it into the finals, but also just like last week, he did not win. This time around it was Cure who pooped on Beyond's parade and with a clean 3-0 won the ESL Open Cup North America. Congratulations to the cup winners of this week, and as we already had the clip of the week being Lambo and the game of the week being Lambo, there's nothing left but to answer the final question, and that is, can your body produce alcohol? And the answer, sadly, is yes. There is something called auto-brewery syndrome, in which the body takes sugary and starchy foods you eat and turns it into alcohol. And thus this condition can make you intoxicated without having to drink any alcohol. Sounds fun, but isn't actually very fun if you have that condition. Alright, that will be it for today's episode of StarCraft Today. If you did enjoy this episode, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to pray to the weather gods to make me sweat less next week. Thank you all so much for watching, and bye bye.